Hey guys, it's Jeremy with the online radio blueprint. I almost forgot the name of my channel. And it's been forever. It's been forever since I've put out a video. To be honest, I've just been so busy that this has had to go on the back burner. But I was heartened to go in. Guys, I'm embarrassed to say I haven't even gone into the channel in months. And I had a lot of great comments and questions. So thank you very much. So I tried to respond to all of those, and I appreciate that. I've also had the chance to talk to a few of you that have reached out to me and have made some new friends from doing this. So it's been awesome. One friend in particular down in Texas is about to launch a new online radio station, and we've been corresponding over the last week, and it's been great. And so once he's up and running, I'm going to invite him to be on this channel, and we'll have a conversation with him. And let me throw out an invitation to any of you that are watching these videos. If you have a radio station, I'd love to have you on and talk to you about what you're doing. There might be some ideas I could take from you. Maybe I have some ideas you could take from me. I just think it would be awesome. What I wanted to talk about really quick is I don't know even how to frame the question. Do you have broadcast-itis? Maybe I should call it broadcast engineer-itis. And let me explain what I mean by that, because I got to be honest, I kind of do. And I'll tell you why. So as you know, I use Live 365 as my platform. I've sung the virtues of them, basically mainly because they provide licensing with the price. So the monthly price you pay includes all the licensing you need, which is great. It's worth it to me to not have that headache. I had a question from someone. I read it today. I don't know how long ago they sent the question, but it got me thinking about this. They said, we've been looking into Live 365. Is that all you use, or are you using some automation software, some broadcast automation software? And that just made me think of this whole idea of, Live 365 using their default platform versus an automation software. And for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with it, automation software is software that well, it's what it sounds like. It automates your radio station, right? I've been out of radio, real commercial broadcast radio, since 95. So there was automation software back then, but none of the stations I worked at used it, right? We used a little automation stuff in the production studio, but for the most part, we were still live on the air. You would take out a cart or a CD cart. We use the CD carts, and you're literally loading up your cart decks and your commercial cart decks, and you're hitting them all manually, right? The good old days, right? And that's what I grew up with. Well, I don't mean to go too far in the weeds now, but now it's automated. Right. And this is a whole nother topic, but it's really sad. Radio has changed so much. This is the good and the bad of technology, right? When I came into radio in 1985, a high school kid could still get a job working at a radio station in a wheat field in Oklahoma, right? Playing records all night. And we literally, my first job, we played records, vinyl records that we queued up. And we had the cart machines that we played our commercials on. That's all we had. Right? Well, now, because of technology, because of the internet, because of a number of factors, there are very few local live radio stations where a kid can actually come on the air and play music and do the old time DJ thing, right? Most local stations, if not completely automated or syndicated, they might have a live morning show, and then the rest of the day it's automated or syndicated, right? An interesting experiment. I used to, for a short period of time, I live on the eastern side of Washington, but I was working in Seattle. And every weekend I would commute I drive, it's a 4-hour drive, 4.5-hour drive. I could drive from Spokane to Seattle and hear 4 different classic rock stations, 4 different call signs. Okay. So 4 different stations that were exactly the same syndicated feed. Okay. They were iHeart stations. They all had the same announcers. It was the same show. Only thing that was different was they played their different little station IDs. Okay. That's how radio is now. And that's why, that's the way radio is. It's kind of sad, but that's the way it is. Now, the good news is this technology, that's what allows us to do internet radio now, right? So I'm kind of complaining on the one end, but kind of happy on the other end, because now anyone can have a radio station. So then the challenge just becomes making a station that people would want to listen to. If you can crack that nut, you got it made, right? So where am I going with this? Because remember I said I was going to talk about radio engineer-itis. So let's get back to that topic. And this was all triggered by that question. Someone asked, hey, do you just use Live 365 or do you use some type of automation software? And my answer was, right now, I'm just using Live 365 and it works great. But I'm in the process of transitioning to using some type of playout software. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that and why. First question might be, well, why would you do that if Live 365 does what you need it to do? And here's where the broadcast engineer-itis comes in, right? People listen to the radio different. Okay. And I'm going to use another example, guitar-itis, right? Guitarist syndrome. If you're a musician, you play in a band, you might know this. Here's what guitar-itis is, or guitar player syndrome. That is, I'm a guitar player, right? It could be bass player syndrome, drummer syndrome, whatever. Musician syndrome. Here's what I'm talking about. That's you're the guitar player, you're working out your solo, you do something and you mess something up and you're all stressed out because you messed up and you don't sound exactly. Guess what? 98% of the audience didn't even notice you messed up and they don't even care. Okay. And yet as a guitarist, I fixate, I want to make sure the sound is exactly right. And I get the, so, that's musician-itis. Broadcast engineer-itis is the same thing. And let me give you an example. I'm driving around with my kids or my wife, and I'm always listening to one of my radio stations, and they're both just on Live 365. And one of the things that, it just drives me crazy with a few things that I'll tell you drive me crazy that will show my broadcast engineer-itis. When you're playing a song on Live 365, I learned this the hard way, right? I was uploading songs from my CD collection, basically. I'm uploading all these songs as MP3 files. So every individual song has its own MP3 file, right? With all the metadata and everything. So Live 365 just plays those files one after another, right? So if you've got a song that has 5 seconds of dead air at the end, too bad. That whole file is going to play out until the next element triggers. Okay. So if you've got 5 seconds of dead air, then you're going to have 5 seconds of dead air that you hear on your station. Okay. And I learned that the hard way on my classic guitar rock. And I've gone in slowly and tried to, and what I do is I'll actually bring up the files. I'll clip them so they don't have dead air at the beginning and the end. If they have a super long fade, I'll cut that off and make it so the fade's a little quicker. And then within Live 365, you can adjust the crossfade, but it sucks. It's not a good function because basically there's no it's just based on a file. So if you set a crossfade for 5 seconds, then basically 5 seconds before this file ends, the next one will start. Well, that might sound okay if you're playing a song that's fading out. But if it's a song that ends cold, right? The software, the Live 365 platform doesn't know that. It'll just, the next song will start playing 5 seconds before the end, and it just sounds like a train wreck. So I'll be driving around and I'll hear something like this. And I'm like, oh, and my wife or my kids are like, what's going on? And I'll talk about, I hate how there's dead air. There's these long fades. It sounds like crap. The volume levels are all over. This song's only half as loud. I mean, all of this stuff that my kids and my wife don't even notice, but it drives me crazy. That is broadcast engineer-itis. Okay. Do you have it? If you do, it's okay, because I have it. But the only thing I want to say is, don't let it kill you. Don't let it ruin your fun. Because, yeah, when I listen to Radio Valley, now what I've done is I've uploaded all my music. It's a tedious process, because it would be much easier for me to just upload music or download music. And then when I upload it to the station, I don't mess with it. I just upload it. But what I do now is I make sure I trim out the dead air at the end. I'll tweak with the levels so they're all the songs are at the same level. So there's no up and down in volumes and all of that. It sounds a lot better, but it's a lot more work. Where am I going with this? Well, one of the nice things about a playout software, because I mean, basically Live 365 it's automated. So it's playing everything automatically, right? But an actual playout or automation software, and Radio DJ is the one I use. And here's why I use it. It's free. And it's pretty doggone good for a free software. There are commercial stations that use Radio DJ. And I've already talked about one of my favorite channels, Radio DJ Dude. That's his forte. He's an expert on using Radio DJ, and I've learned lots of things watching him. But one of the great things about a playout software like Radio DJ is it does all the automation stuff you need to, and a lot more. It is a lot more robust. I haven't even scratched the surface, guys, in Radio DJ. I mean, to be honest, I'm muddling through it, right? But even on the surface, one of the things it does really well is it's a more dynamic audio processing, right? You can set a processing preset. I use one called Hard Commercial. And what that is, this is all your compression. It's setting your compression. It's setting your levels. And guys, that's what makes a radio station sound like a radio station. It's the compression. The compressor limiter is what gives it that kind of sparkle and everything sound, you don't hear super quiet parts. And audiophiles will say, oh, compression's terrible, but that's the way we listen to radio, and that's what we're used to hearing, right? If you don't have compression, songs are very quiet at the beginning, depending on how they were recorded. So I'm like, compress the crap out of that. I mean, that's what makes radio sound like radio to me. So with Radio DJ software, you can set that compression, or that it's a setting. It's an audio setting called Hard Commercial. That's the setting I picked. A lot of compression, right? A lot of limiting. And the nice thing about it is it automatically, once your song drops to a certain level, whether it's through a fade out or it ends cold, it automatically starts the next song. So you never get dead air. And your commercials go bang, bang, bang right after another, because it senses that drop in audio, and it's just a more dynamic play out, and it sounds like a real radio station, right? When I record my voice tracks, the levels are all good. It's compressed. It's pumped up. It sounds like a real radio station. So my plan, and I'm working on this right now, is I will have I already have the computer set up. The Radio DJ software is loaded. I'm in the process of, I've got about 80% of my music ready to go. So sometime in the next couple weeks, I will transition over to using the Radio DJ playout software. It's still on Live 365, because Live 365 will let you do it, right? You can set it up instead of using their auto DJ platform. I'm just will be running my Radio DJ software through the platform on Live 365, and it will sound a lot better. It'll sound a lot better. So it will cure my radio engineer-itis, or make it worse, one or the other, but it will sound a lot better. So this got me thinking about this. What type of radio operator are you? Did you get into online radio because you're a music person, you want to play music? Did you do it because you're doing it as a way to build community or reach out to the community? Or the reason I did it, I love radio. I've just grown up loving radio, all formats of radio. I was a weird kid, right? Late at night, I would tune in. I lived in Oklahoma. I'd tune in WLS and hear Larry Lujak and all these. I just loved radio. This idea that you're hearing people 1,000 miles away just fascinated me. Mine is a love of radio. I'm the type of guy. Normal people listen to the radio to hear music, right? I'm the type of guy that wants the song to get over so I hear the disc jockey talk, or I hear the sweeper, or I hear the commercials. I just love radio. And so some of this depends on what your particular vibe is around radio. Are you a music file? Are you a community file? Are you a radio? And it's all great. It's all good. I just think that depending on what was your inspiration to start an online radio station, that might determine your level of radio engineer-itis, right? So in my mind, I remember what radio sounded like back in the 70s and 80s, and I want my station to sound like that. And so using a playout software, and you can get as technical as you want, and probably radio DJ is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure you could talk to an audio engineer or a broadcast engineer, and they're saying, dude, you haven't even begun to scratch the surface, right? But in my mind, the playout software will help me have that CHR radio sound that I'm wanting. So in the coming weeks, that's what I'll be doing, is I'll be transitioning to that playout software, and I'll want you to listen. Well, let me do this. I would encourage you to listen to my station. I'll put a link for it in the description, my Radio Valley station. Listen to it. And then in a few weeks, I'll have you listen again once we've gone to the playout software and see what you think, if you notice a difference. Because I've got it set up enough that I can listen to it just on the computer and hear what it will sound like. That's just not going out through Live 365 yet. And it'll be I think a big improvement. But anyways, I wanted to talk about that. And let me again reiterate my invitation to any of you. I'd love to talk to you on this channel. If you have a radio station, let's come on, tell us what you're doing, what's working well, challenges you have. Let's learn from each other. I think that would be a lot of fun. My commitment is to get back into this channel, keep putting some content up. If you have friends or associates that are in the online radio community and you think this might be helpful, please share the channel with them. And I'll look forward to doing this at least a few times a week. And I love to hear from you. Thanks. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.